on. The off seasons come and go. They're kind of different each time, but you've been busy. Let's kind of maybe go through the order. We'll go back to extending Mike Brown. That's a big part of what you guys want to do. How did all that go?
Yeah, no, I think once you get through the draft and free agency, people want to talk about the players, but let's not forget our coach. Really excited to bring Mike back. 94 wins the last 2 years, and what he's done for our organization. Awesome. We're so excited to extend him, and excited for what's next. What he will get this kind of combination of new and old players to do next season in a tough West. But him and his staff, they've done a great job. Obviously, credit to Jordy Fernandez, who Brooklyn decided to lead their group, which is a great sign for us. Obviously, we're bummed to lose somebody like Jordy, but it's just a great sign for the organization. People want to come and poach from us a little bit, but to retain Mike, the rest of the group, we're excited.
I heard you say that stat the other day that you and Denver are the only teams 46 wins or more, which one is amazing. Two, it's a 3 seed and then a non-play. I mean, how crazy is the West?
The West is always crazy. I've said it. I think this is, I don't even know, 16, 17 years in now for me in the West, between Houston and Sac. And we've seen it all. I think, us and Golden State last year win 46 and don't make it into the final 8 playoff teams, which is, I think, the 5th and 6th teams ever to do that. And, I think the year before, maybe we got a little fortunate that 48 wins got us the 3 seed. But then for 46 wins, a 2-win drop to drop you 6 spots. It just shows how deep it is. But I think for us, we took that as a challenge that, you might have to win 48, 50, 52 games to get into the playoffs in the West. So how do we improve? How do we get back and compete with those teams? Because once you get in the playoffs, I think we saw it last year. Dallas had a great run from the last third of the season into the playoffs. Making the finals from, I guess, the 5 seed. And, so you get in the mix, you got a chip in a chair, as they say. We're here in Vegas, but, give us a shot. So for us, we got to get it back into that mix. That was the goal. All
right. So you land coach. That's a big part. The next one was Malik. Fans wanted him. I'm sure you guys wanted him. We're hearing all these things. All these other teams potentially are seeking him, which is a great thing for him. How did it all come about? How did you convince him to come back to Sacramento?
Well, I think this goes back 2 years where credit to our staff because, Malik certainly didn't have maybe the most standard of beginnings to his career, but had started to show some flashes his last little bit in Charlotte and then with the Lakers. And a lot in our group saw big potential in Malik. And so we were able to get him into Sacramento, used our mid-level. And, obviously he's had a previous relationship with DeAir and they have a great synergy together, but I think surpassed certainly my expectations and had a great 2-year run. And so at that point it's like, all right, yeah, now how do we keep this guy? But I think this goes back to Coach Brown, goes back to DeAaron and Domas, our 2 stars, and what they're able to kind of open up for Malik and then how he's able to fit in there. And, we certainly missed him down the stretch last season. But I think for him, and I'm sure he had many other suitors, but for him to look at our situation and say, I want to come back and be a part of what's next, huge testament to him and to our group. And, we're really excited to see what he can do. And, a couple new faces in there with him, but him and DeAaron continue their 2-man game. Him and Domas, a fantastic 2-man game. Super excited to have him back.
I'm sure you've got to love that, though. I mean, from the top down and coaching you, everybody's trying to talk about culture, and he chose you guys. I mean, there were other options. So, I mean, just how rewarding is what you're doing, not just wins and losses, but it's keeping guys that want to stay here.
Yeah, we've certainly had, and I know we'll get into DeMar and him choosing to come to Sacramento, but we've also had, I think, a lot of successes of guys coming to Sac, and then we're able to keep them, whether that's a contract extension or a new contract. And Malik's the latest one, fan favorite. Just a huge testament of what we're building, and I think it shows that players want to win. Yeah. And when you're winning, when there's the prospect of future winning, and I think we're set up well to compete. We'll see. We got to do it, but we're set up well to compete next year and in the future of the West. So I think that's really a testament to that.
Well, you mentioned DeMar. Let's get there. I mean, there's rumors about the team and all the different guys that you guys may have been pursuing, but it does end up being DeMar DeRozan. How did you guys kind of make this work? Why did he choose Sacramento?
Well, I think a little bit of it just goes back to that we've been set up where we have the ability to go and recruit a free agent like that. We have the ability to kind of, it's a complicated transaction to sign and trade, but the ability to both get the signing part done and the trading part done. And so credit to our staff, ability to do that. But, ultimately this is a free agent who can go anywhere. And, we're kind of seeing the landscape, DeMar seeing his landscape, and we get a couple days into free agency and continue to talk. And, credit to Wes Wilcox, who does a fantastic job, working the phones, and our staff trying to figure out, okay, if DeMar may come, what does that mean? How do we set up the trade? And really working these 3 or 4 paths at once to try to get them to ultimately come together, which they somehow did right before Cal Classic game number 1. So, certainly not a grand strategy that we had for that timing, but it worked out great. And, he's just such a consummate professional, somebody who you look at his career, it's like, how has he done this for over a decade? And I think led the league in minutes per game last year, whatever it is, at his age, to show no signs of slowing down and continue to evolve his game, add the passing and playmaking and scoring at the line in the paint, in the mid-range. He's just a complete player, and I think a 6-time All-Star to choose Sacramento. I think it's because of what we're building here, and excited to bring him in.
I mean, all NBA as well, multiple times, Hall of Fame career, really. How do you see the fit with him here?
Well, I think the great thing about DeMar is, like I said, with the passing, with the scoring, with the ability to get to the line, he's going to fit in all sorts of lineups. And so whether that's with Sabonis, with Fox, with both of them, obviously Keegan and his ability to score inside and out, and then you got Kevin Huerter, Malik Monk, Trey Lyles, you go on and on down the line. I think DeMar, whether he needs to score or whether he needs to find others, he's going to do that. He's also shown the other end the ability to guard multiple positions, which is huge in today's NBA. So just another threat out there that teams have to account for. I mean, you're an opposing coach, and you got to put somebody on De'Aaron, somebody on Domas. That's all-star, all-NBA level talent. Now you got DeMar in there, and then you look up and somebody's going to have to guard Keegan or Kevin or Malik, and it's it's going to be hard to guard us. For us, we're going to have to put that in, make sure we do the work, get the right shots, take care of the ball, and then at the other end continue to improve like we did last year on the defensive end. But he I think unlocks a lot of things for us and for Mike Jay on the offensive end.
Also, in the busy offseason, you have a draft. It's always an exciting time, too. Devin Carter comes in as a lottery pick. Unfortunately, he's injured here to start, but, there's still a bright future ahead for him. Kind of the thought process on drafting him and hopefully when you'll have him back.
Yeah, Devin, I think unique in that I think he can fit us when he comes back this year, but also somebody that we can see fitting whatever form we take 5, 6, 7 years in the future. And I think a little bit of what we've seen in the NBA now, where these kind of do-it-all guards, wings. I mean, he's like 6'9", wingspan, and obviously his dad played in the NBA, so he knows what it's about. But I think that kind of versatility defensively and then offensively, he showed in college the ability to put the ball on the ground, go to the basket, shoot from outside. Really big improvement this year. We're bummed he's not playing here at Summer League and maybe for the start of the season, but when he does come back, I think he's going to make a big impact and just be a very good complement to what we're already building, and then hopefully continue to grow his game, and sky's the limit for him.
I'm curious on the process for you and your front office, how fluid the path has to be. So let's go to draft night and you're 13. You may want to trade the pick. You may want to make the pick. Maybe your pick goes before you. Also to DeMar DeRozan, if you're interested in other players too. Like, how fluid do you have to be? Is it when the opportunity strikes, this is one of our plans, we go for it? Just kind of how is that process?
It's when you're in the moment, it's hard sometimes because you don't know what's to come. We have the draft. It's draft night. Now it's 2 nights. Then you got a few days. Then you got free agency. Trades obviously happen a lot at that time. And, really the DeMar DeRozan thing comes together on July 6th, which, that's only 10 or so days from the draft, but it feels like forever. And you, at the time at the draft, you have no idea what may come. And there was a bunch of things floating around. So you're really trying to make these decisions at the time. There's there's a bunch of different kind of, game theory thought here about there's a stopping problem. Like, okay, when is this the one versus roll the dice and see what's going forward? And, so we ended up having a lot of options at the draft, but when Devin fell, we were really excited to get him. And we said, well, let's see what's going to happen in free agency. And there we had some trade options and things, but as DeMar came into focus, the last few days of that became, I think, the thing that we thought, man, this really checks a lot of boxes for us. And, we still had to convince him. We had to set up the other trades, but, happy where it ended up, restless nights in the interim, trying to see where we were going to end up. We were happy with, I think our process there, but it's certainly tougher in the interim.
He seems happy. Was the convincing of DeMar a difficult task, or?
I think it's more just you're competing with, 20 other teams. Yeah. And, so we have to, I think, him coming to SAC and seeing what we're about and meeting with some of the coaches, some of the players, our front office staff, obviously ownership. Vivek was there. Fantastic. I think that he was able to see that and it was like, yeah, this is what I want to be a part of. So, at the same time, you got to be able to offer him a package that is commensurate with his ability and then put the trade together to be able to do that. But, fortunate all those things came together, but also credit to our group. That's a lot of planning so that you have the ability to do that. And then I think the convincing of DeMar came down to coach our players and seeing what we've already been building and seeing that we have room to grow.
Yeah. A couple other moves. I mean, it obviously costs you players that you've had relationships with. Harrison Barnes, one part of the DeRozan move, but Sasha and Davion, you get McDaniels there, and you've also had a Jordan McLaughlin. How do those two guys help the Kings going forward?
Yeah, well, first, Harrison, Davion, Sasha, Chris Duarte, among others, just a huge part of what we've done last year and the year before and in turning this thing around. So big thanks to them and wish them the best going forward. But in getting Jalen McDaniels, a big, long wing, I think has a chance to be impactful on both ends of the floor. Something that, we're looking to do if we can get bigger, longer, two-way players. And then Jordan McLaughlin, really a fantastic few years in Minnesota last year in particular, as they kind of surge up the Western Conference standings. But for him to come in and certainly with Devin's injury and I think just be a good fit, both behind and potentially next to De'Aaron with his shooting ability to defend, just run an offense. Bring back Alex Len on the other end of the roster at the big spot, who had a great year last year. He's really come into his own as finding his role and just being an awesome professional, whether he's playing or not. But we're going to need him to play even more and bring his rim protection and those things. So excited for what we've got there. Obviously, haven't even mentioned Keon Ellis and Colby Jones, two of our younger guys. Keon in particular played very well down the stretch when we had some injuries at the guard wing spot and started in the play-in for us. Had an especially big game against Golden State and guarding Steph and hitting some big shots. So we know we'll need it all in the West, and there's you'll need your depth and you'll need your kind of all the tools in your tool belt as you go in of just different matchups each night. But I think we've got a lot of that, and we'll need guys to continue to improve internally as well as hopefully some of the external growth that we've had.
A couple of final roster spots are left. Are there areas of need that you're looking at, more depth, maybe front court side, and what are kind of things you'd like to see addressed?
Yeah, I think for the most part, we're always looking to improve the team, and if opportunities arise, we'll certainly take advantage. I do think at this point we're expecting that this is probably the core of the group that we'll go into training camp with. But yeah, potentially one or two more roster spots. I think we're going to take our time a little bit and see there. Probably be more wing forward, big. We feel pretty good at the guard spot right now. So, we'll look. This is a big part of summer league and see what our own guys can do. We got scouts scouting the other 29 teams here. Great opportunity for a lot of these, young players who are not even on a roster potentially to showcase themselves. And, our group's been watching the G League and International. So a lot of different ways that we can go, but, we'll take our time. We'll see what we got there. And, as we head into training camp, we'll fill those last couple spots. But, I think we're happy with the group as is. Again, if something comes up, we'll certainly look at it. But I think right now this is the bulk of the group we'll have, and a couple last spots that we'll fill right before training camp.
I'm thinking day one of training camp, you clear the court and let all the guards go out there. I mean, that competition, there's some minutes up for grabs, but there's a lot of guys that can play. I'd like to see how that goes.
Yeah, well, I think Keegan mentioned it last year, but guarding De'Aaron all summer is pretty good. Trial by fire, and we have a lot of guys. I think that they're going to go at each other, over the summer, and as we get into training camp, and obviously when Devin comes back, he'll add to that mix, and I mean that is one competitive, tough guy as well. But I think for De'Aaron too, like him going against Keon and Colby and some of these guys that can, Keegan, that can throw different looks at him. Malik and all the moves he has. So it's a good group. They push each other. We hope they'd make each other better, which they've done. And then we can go take it out on the other 14 teams in the West.
Yeah, one last thought. How do you feel about Keegan's experience playing with the select team was great, and Sabonis? I mean, you're probably wanting them to do well, but knock on wood, stay as healthy as possible. Just guys that get opportunities to keep playing. How do you guys kind of feel about that?
I think for the most part, the competition, the ability to play high level basketball in the summer is huge. So Keegan was select, and both Trey and Domas with their national teams. I mean, yeah, of course we want our guys to come to camp healthy, but we want them to be in great shape. We want to be in great competitive shape, and playing high level basketball is there's no replacement for it. So bummer for Domas and Lithuania. They fell one game short, but was great for him. Trey, be excited to see him in the Olympics. Keegan, going up against some of the best in the world and going toe to toe. It's just an incredible experience and growth opportunity for those guys. And frankly, that's what it's going to be every night in the West. And so we're going to need every bit of experience there. I think one last thing on that is sometimes those provide opportunities for guys to maybe be out of their comfort zone, do something a little bit different, expand their game in some way. And, I think we saw that a little bit with Keegan in Summer League last year. Hey, go be the scorer, go guard the best guy. And he was able to do more of that last year, and so we're excited to see what he's got in store for us. I think we know Domas and De'Aaron, what they're going to do and be in the mix for all NBA, all-star accolades. Obviously DeMar and what he's done, and the more internal growth we can get, and I think we've got guys that can continue to do that. That's what we're going to need to continue to go up against these behemoths in the West.
All right. One last thing here is the question Dave and I probably get the most, which you're not going to believe. It's not, is Monty trading for this guy or picking this guy? How is he wearing a vest when it's 113? We get that a lot. Do you get that at all?
I do. It's first of all, I'm inside. There's air conditioning.
Yeah.
All right. And sometimes it's actually quite cold in our offices.
But from the house to the car? No.
Sometimes I actually, believe it or not, take it off, put it in the car, put it on when I get inside.
You don't have it on here now, which is good.
And Miguel Lopez, our equipment manager, he's got some lightweight vests this year, a little lighter. But look, they're comfortable, okay, and they got great pockets for all the stuff you got to bring to the gym. And it's I agree. If I was going to sit outside for 4 hours in the 120 degree weather, that would be a little excessive. Yeah. For the most part, we're inside. And it's a little cooler in there, but I appreciate the fans taking notice, and I've seen some funny Twitter memes on it, so it's always good to see the fun had.
I'm sure there's a Monty Vest account. I don't know, but I bet there is. You got to believe there is. Our fans. I'm sure there is. Our
fans, they're doing something.
Yeah,
they're doing something. Sure. I think it was last year in Las Vegas. Actually, I posted a picture from Caesars, and somebody put a vest on the statue there as a joke. So that was pretty funny. That's probably the best one I've seen.
All right, Monty, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jason.
That's Monte McNair. Hey, and it was a great interview. And then at the end, it was a stunning admission from Monte McNair, what we were all looking for. What the heck is going on with the vest in this heat? I think he's hiding something, Jason.
You think so? I mean, I told him the idea off air. I go, look, Monty, this is, Dave's brought this up. I want to give him credit for this. Team store, Monty vest, like, let's start the line because, I thought it was even funny. He's like, well, look, some of these are more sleek and lighter weight. I'm like, it's a vest in Sacramento in the summer. I mean, wintertime, it's cool. I actually think it looks good. I really like the look, but when we're all wearing t-shirts or golf shirts or whatever, and he's donning the vest with long sleeves underneath, it's like, man, I mean, yeah, you might be inside in a freezing cold air conditioning, but at some point you're outside, at some point you're in your car, at some point you're walking to the garage or something. But it's a good look for him. He's all in on it. I'll admit that.
Well, I'll say this publicly, and we'll definitely communicate this to the Kings. We're always, as their partner, we're always looking to help them out in any way we can. So one of two things is going to happen. Either they need to make the money and come out with the Monty line of vests. And by the way, working with a club over in England that's far smaller than the Sacramento Kings, and as I wear their new road jersey as we speak, I know how these things work a little bit better now. You just call the manufacturer and say, hey, I'd like a test run. Give me 5 or 10 in each size, and let's see how these things run. It's a minor investment. You put them in the team store, you announce it on social media, and profit. So do that, and we'll go buy a couple, and you'll see the two of us doing our shows and invest from time to time, or three of us.
I think we could even do it better. Pre-order. We don't even have to do the test.
Just pre-order.
Hey, guys.
Yes.
Would you like a Monty vest?
Great point. Get all the pre-orders in so they're already done and paid for. Or B, my mom's health hasn't been great, as everyone knows, but she knows her way around a sewing machine. I'll go get a couple of vests and a couple of Kings patches, and we'll mock some up ourselves and make them. Does that work? Can radio stations sell merchandise? I don't know. Is that a thing?
Of course we can.
I know you've been trying for that, Dave. Like a week or so. For about a week or two, you've been on it.
I want to come back and talk about this a little bit more. Oh, we got a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Number one, I noticed, because you're a good guy, you very deftly sidestepped the Drew Timmy question. And I get it. Part of me wanted you to ask just because, well, what did he say? But on the other hand, I think that that's a real big feud going on right now between the two of us, and you didn't want to infringe on his generous time that he was giving you by bringing up something that's obviously it's a sore subject.
Yeah, I did stay away from it. I did think about it, but I know there were a lot of talking points to hit. I'm glad we kind of went one by one through the off-season moves, and he kind of addressed them all. I mean, I don't know what your takeaway was, but one for me, like, obviously they set their targets. I've always been, and you and I have talked about, just fascinated with the process of it and how you have to move in real time. And I could tell there was kind of something there of, I do think they had a lot of different plans. And then when one starts to take shape, you kind of go down that road. I think that's what happened with DeRozan, certainly with the draft of Carter. But it could have gone other ways. And so I think that's interesting. And then he started getting to the game theory, like, hey, look, there's game theory arguments, like when do you roll the dice and go all in, and just interesting there. And then I think the other one, Dave, was the takeaway that I kind of teased earlier, but I think he said, as of now, it sure feels like this is the roster. I feel like he feels higher on Herter than maybe a lot of people out there. Like, he's going to be in the mix. And so unless something changes, there might be some fringe depth added, but other than that, I think he feels good about what they've got, but doesn't mean that can't change before the season or certainly during the season.
And let's run with that logic, and we'll switch this over into the next segment and continue it as well. We've talked about this before, which is they don't have to be done. Let's acknowledge one thing. If you trade Kevin Herter right now, it's about as low as his value can possibly be. So for all we know, well, I mean, we do know this. They're obviously watching Kevin Huerter like a hawk. They've got people in his workouts. They're in constant communication with him. Well, what if they're looking at Huerter, for example, and they're saying, we're not selling him this low unless somebody's going to overpay at current value. This dude's value is far higher. Number one, combined with, hey, we just added a big piece in DeRozan. Everybody's healthy right now, knock on wood. Malik's back, blah, blah, blah. Let's not handcuff ourselves because, and those of you listening right now will remember us talking about this the last couple of weeks. They don't know what the needs are necessarily going to be that present themselves in real game time fashion by plugging in a 24-point-a-game scorer in DeMar DeRozan, and those needs may not be what we're forecasting them. So why handcuff yourself now before you've test-driven this new engine in the vehicle rather than take it out, run it around, and now you still have assets either during the first part of the season or come the trade deadline?
Yeah, I mean, there's choices, right? And I think, we're going to look at this, Dave, and say, people are going to have their opinions on every player right now, and that's true. But you also could, it just depends on how you look at the player. Like Kevin Huerter did not have a great season. He would admit that last year. But his first 3 quarters of his first season was tremendous. And if you look at what they're trying to do and motion and, as a cutter, he's great. As a shooter, he can be awesome. Can he get that form again? How will it all look? We all look at it now and go, I got some questions defensively, maybe some size. Will that show up as big of an issue as the season goes on? We got to see them play a little bit, and I think maybe that's what the front office wants to see too.
Still to come in the program, Jason live in Vegas. He sat down with our friend